Paramanandam Keshavam Madarayanam Sutra Bhashya Krito Vande Bhagavanto Puna Punaha Ishwaro Guratmeti Murti Beda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshina Murtaye Namaha Om Narayana Govinda. Okay, Karma Yoga. The reason it's in here in the first, the reason they start with Karma Yoga and don't get on to the big spiritual stuff till later is because you can't sustain you cannot sustain inquiry or any kind of, or enjoy consistently any kind of samadhis unless you're using your daily life, your everyday life as a spiritual practice. In other words, unless you're doing life as a spiritual practice. That's the point. People don't know how to live properly here in this world, and they get unpleasant karma, and they feel bad because life isn't going their way, and they want to escape. They think that there's something wrong with life. They think there's something wrong with the world, and so they rush off into spirituality looking for some kind of technique or something that'll get them out of this, that will solve the problem a different way. So, and what they're doing is escaping from the, life. Most spiritual people are escapists, really. And what the Bhagavad Gita is saying is, do not run away. Stay on the battlefield, stay in your life, and face your problems, and face life but change your attitude. Because Karma Yoga is just an attitude that you take with respect to action and the results of action. That's all. This whole spiritual thing is just attitude. And it's just the opposite of a whiny, complainy, self-centered attitude. We're going to see the second half of Karma Yoga is gratitude. We're going to explain why you should be grateful for what you have. It's important. Yes, it's nice to say, oh yes, be grateful. But, if you don't know why you should be grateful, you're not going to be grateful. The intellect needs to understand the reasons. So we're giving you the reasons, right, why the attitudes and these practices and these things should be pursued. So once you got that in place, meditation and inquiry and all of these more advanced things, right, will work. But unless this Karma Yoga is in place, all you'll be doing when you're living is reproducing your vasanas, reinforcing your vasanas. And it's those vasana tendencies that are keeping you from succeeding in spirituality. That's the problem. So Karma Yoga exhausts your vasanas, but in other words, the way you live exhausts your vasanas, and you don't accumulate vasanas or just reinforce existing vasanas. You actually purge your vasanas by living with this attitude or in this spirit. So you're a leg up on the whole thing if you got this in it, and if not, you're just going to be frustrated. This is why so many people get turned on to spirituality, but they don't know about this attitude. They just continue to relate to life in the same way, and they find that spirituality doesn't work. They just get frustrated. So that's why the Rishi has put Karma Yoga in the beginning, to make it clear that this is the foundation of your spiritual work. And I tell you, I don't know for sure, but I have never heard anybody teaching Karma Yoga. I know the Neo-Advaitis don't teach Karma Yoga. And I don't know who else teaches it. And the ones who do teach it in this simple-minded, like, soup kitchen karma yoga, what I call soup, selfless service to the guru. That means, washing the guru's shirt every day and cleaning the dishes in the ashram. And I'm getting good karma for that. You know, I was I was in an ashram in the 80s, just passing through. Siddha Yoga. They've since sort of tanked. But Siddha Yoga was at that time was an up and coming thing. They were meant to be the next world religion, And Guru Maiyi was the sort of, the latest thing since Mother Teresa. Although she did have her designer outfits and sat on a plexiglass thing and beamed her satellite intensives around the world, for which you paid $800 to sit on a carpet in a spendy hotel and hear, nice little stories about Baba, who happened to be molesting young girls. Anyway, getting off topic here. So yesterday we got to this verse explaining what the first half of Karma Yoga is, which is you can act but you don't have the right to the result. And the reason you don't have the right to the result is because the field of existence, the Dharma field, is so complex and so interconnected and interrelated and so dynamic and ever-changing that you can never predict what will happen. Like you go to the stock market. I mean, you invest like 10,000 in the stock market. Well, that's very cool. I'll get, but there's a billion factors operating in the stock market every second. They have these huge computers and these brilliant programs that try to predict what will happen on a moment-to-moment basis, but there's no computer that can actually factor in all of the information that are affecting the buying and selling of these stocks. There's no way. And even if there was, then how would you evaluate the meaning of all these things? What each one of these actions or these trends actually meant? Because not only you got to get all the information, but you've got to evaluate that information before you can make a choice or make a decision, or before you can get a result that you want. So the same thing's true in our life. There are all kinds of things that somebody you care for, and they care for somebody else, and then they have a problem with that person, and then their mind changes, and then they treat you badly, and then you get thoughts in your mind, and then you start having a problem with them. And it's always sixes and sevens in this samsara. It's never gonna be the same. So so that means what? We said yesterday, that means all of the anxiety you have about getting things is a waste of time. And since the result is up to you, all of the reactions that you have to the results that you get, right? This is an important factor, because your karma is being delivered to you every second in the form of what you're experiencing now. And so if what you're experiencing now is not any good, not what you want, then you can do one of two things, basically. You can either get angry, it's not what I want, I deserve better, it's my right to have this and that. Or you can get depressed. Oh, I'm so useless, I'm so miserable, I try so hard, and look at this is what God gives me, this is not right. You can either get angry or depressed, Rajas or Tamas. If you're Rajasic, you'll get angry, and then later, of course, when the anger burns out, you'll get depressed, because Rajas will turn into Tamas, and then you'll feel sad and sorry for yourself and miserable. And if you're Rajas, you'll curse God for, why did you do this? I don't deserve it. Like Job in the Bible. Big whiner. Job was always whining. God kept dumping crap on him all the time, and he was always whining, I love you, God, but why do you treat me like this? I'm really a good guy. You know.
There's the devil in cahoots with God.
Huh?
That's the funny part.
Yeah.
They both God and the devil.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, so this, you know, the karma yoga spirit involves what? An attitude, right, that neutralizes this whiny attitude. We call it pratipaksha bhavana. You take up the opposite attitude. Huh? You neutralize this self-centered, whiny, ego attitude with what? An attitude of gratitude. Now, why should I feel grateful? Why should why should I feel grateful? Think about it. Can you honestly say that anything you have, you created on your own? Can you honestly say that anything that you have got in life, or that you presently have, you created that yourself? You cannot. Not one thing belongs to me. Every single thing that I have has been given to me. I mean, just start with the body. And you never might leave God out of it, but Mom and Dad, they got together one fine night, and that's why you've got a body. You know, it's not, you know, you didn't create this body. What about your mind? Who gave you this beautiful mind and this intellect? Where did you get these feelings? And what about all the stuff that's going through your mind, the feelings and stuff? They belong to you? Oh, they belong to you? You're in control of them? Okay, tell me what you're going to feel in 5 minutes. If you're the big boss here, if that's all yours, if you're in charge. In fact, no. All your feelings and thoughts and ideas come to you. They don't come from you, they come to you. The gift of life is an amazing gift. And here you are, and what? Okay, never mind that. Here I am, I did it all, this is all me. Okay, but what about the world around? Yes, you are wonderful. You created it all. You're the number one guy. We accept that. But then what about the rest of this? What about you got to have air to breathe, don't you? Yeah, you made your lungs, sure, fair enough. But what about the air? Those lungs are pretty damn worthless without the air, aren't they? Who put the air here? And the water and the earth and the fire and all the things that are necessary for the maintenance and sustenance of this body and this mind. Who did that? Where's that coming from? That's coming from you? I don't think so. And you say, oh, this is mine. I'm thinking. You say, I'm thinking, I'm feeling. Now anybody who takes something without putting something back is a thief. He's a miser. He's going to say here, you're going to see the verse. Huh? And if you have this miserly, what's in it for me attitude, that's a miser. It has nothing to do with money. It's a state of mind and attitude. It's a miserly attitude. You don't have any gratitude. You're all taking it for yourself. You think it's all on to yourself. Everything you have here has been given to you. Don't you feel grateful for that? Why shouldn't you feel grateful? When somebody gives you a gift, for God's sakes, you should have the gratitude should come naturally in your heart instead of whining, oh, that's not what I wanted. I wanted a red Camaro and you gave me a blue Camaro, Daddy. Yeah, the 18-year-old at a birthday, on her graduation, the dad gives her a blue Camaro. She wanted a red Camaro. She's not happy. She has to take it back and change it for a blue one. It happens. I mean, really, things like that happen every day. You're just not satisfied with what you've been given. And all that does is what? Just build your stronger, your vasanas, and your egocentric tendency just gets reinforced by that attitude. Whereas if you have this opposite attitude, what? The vasanas just dissipate. The tendencies that are in you, they just work out, and you don't put any new ones back. Because you're just offering your what? Your worship. You're offering your activity as a worship to the world. You're giving away your stuff. You're giving away what you've been given. You're offering it back. Instead of keeping it, because you want security. Oh, I need it. Hoarding it, hiding it, keeping it for yourself. Whatever you've got in you, you just offer it back. And this whole stuckness that you have in life, this feeling of being stuck, right? That's an awful feeling, because you should be moving forward in life. You should be moving forward. And you can move as fast as you want when you get this attitude. You can clean everything up and move right to your goal very quickly if you have this attitude. But if you don't, you're going to feel stuck and blocked. It's because you're hanging on to stuff. You're hanging on to these negative feelings and opinions and ideas and beliefs. You're not letting them go. So this is about letting them go. Offering them back. Consciously offering them back. In other words, every action is what? Is a worship of God. God means, we can leave the self out of it. This world is God, i.e. the self in conjunction with Maya, or ignorance, creates this world. So we just say, God is the karma paladatta. He's the guy that gives us everything. Means the self in conjunction with Maya. As far as awareness goes, there's no world at all. So we can leave awareness out of the picture. But awareness in association with ignorance is the creator of the world. That creator has given us everything. We should honor our creator insofar as we're creatures and we're part of this and we've come out of this world. We should honor our source and give back everything that's been given. Give more than you've got. If you got, just give. Let it go. See the trust there? Well, that's going to break the vasana hold. And that stuckness that you feel where you're hung up and you're not moving forward, that's going to just break up like ice in the spring. When the warm sun comes, that ice is going to break up and the rivers of life is going to flow again. It's simple. So he says here, well, I'll just repeat this verse we took yesterday and then we'll move on. You can choose which actions you wish to perform, but you have no control over the results. Don't think of yourself as the author of the results of your actions. In other words, that's what we just said. You're not the one who authored these results. You didn't give them. They're given to you, right? And don't be attached to inaction. That means don't drop out and try to avoid dealing with your karma. Dealing with karma. If you've got this attitude, you're not going to avoid. You know the procrastinators and the avoiders? People who are tamasic, there's things they don't like to do, they don't want to do, so they avoid doing them, even though they're unpleasant. You should be as happy to do the unpleasant things as you are the pleasant things. See this? You're going to see why. He says, remain steadfast in yoga and act without attachment to the results. Remain the same in success and failure alike. This steadiness of mind is called yoga. Now, why do I want a steady mind? If I see everything equally and I offer all my actions as a worship, there's a beautiful symbol. They call it prasad in India. You may have heard the term prasad. Prasad means the consecrated offering. When you go to church or temple in India, there's outside the temples, there's always these vendors who are selling flowers and coconuts and bananas and all sorts of little doodads, little sweets and neat little things, little leaves and stuff that you're meant to offer to the deity. So you buy and it's a symbol, and you buy these, or you bring your own. It's okay. You can go anywhere, get them, and you go to the temple, and in the inner sanctum where the deity is, then the priests are there, and the priest is waiting for you, and you hand him your offering, your gift. You're giving it back. You're offering to God this gift. And the priest said, "What is your name?" And you tell him your name. And then he goes into the inner sanctum. You can't go there. There's a curtain there. The curtain represents Maya. Before the symbol, before you can worship, you have to chant some things and remove the Maya, so you get direct darshan or vision of the deity. It's a beautiful symbol. So he goes in there behind the curtain, and he chants some mantras, saying, and it says your name. This devotee, Ramji, he's giving you this and that, and he chants some mantras to the deity. Why does he say your name? So the punya, that is the good karma from that action, from that worship, goes to your account. Consciousness knows. Just needs your name so that what? The result of the action of the worship can go to your karmic account. In other words, you feel good because you do that. That's the punya from doing this. From offering something, it gives you a feeling of satisfaction, of goodness. Why? Because you're in harmony with the Dharma, with the laws of the universe. You're giving back what you have been given. It's just normal. It's just a normal feeling. That's called punya. Good karma, merit. And then what happens? After he's chanted the mantra, the karma's gone to your account. He brings back the what? The fruit and gives it to you. And that fruit now is what? Called prasad. It's a gift from God. And now you can eat it. Now you can distribute it to the poor. Now you can eat it yourself. You see? And what that means what? You get it, and so that's just a symbol for everything you do in life. If you offer your activity, consciously consecrate whatever action you're doing. This is a consecration. You consecrate this action that you're doing. It doesn't matter if you're brushing your teeth. I'm brushing your teeth, Lord. This is for you. Not brushing my teeth. I wonder if I'm going to get a cavity. I don't know. Did I get that little thing out of there or not? Oh, it's good. Oh my God. Oh, I don't want a toothache and all that shit. No, you're brushing the Lord's teeth. You're washing the Lord's body. No, this body's not your body. We already said it comes from God. You better treat it like God. Show it some respect. Show it some love. Offer your activity to it. Right? That's going to knock off these vasanas, and what are you going to get? This steadiness of mind is called yoga. That's what a yogi is. A karma yogi is somebody who does that. Karma yogis. So what Krishna is doing is he's converting Arjuna's identity from this rajasic, extroverted, emotional guy into a what? A karma yogi. He's giving you a limited identity here that's going to supplant this worldly identity as a karmi. A karmi means just a normal person who just does what he or she wants to satisfy his or her desires. That's called a karmi. But a karma yogi is somebody who offers their actions for the purification of their mind for the realization of truth or the self. For antakarana shuddhi, for the purification of the mind. In other words, we're getting rid of these negative, unhealthy, unhappy tendencies, our hang-ups, in short. Desire, he says, desire-prompted action is inferior to action performed with a karma yoga attitude. Take refuge in this attitude. Those who perform action only for the desired results are misers. These guys are not your warm, fuzzy, touchy-feely, huggy, kissy, New Agey, Neo-Advaiti gurus. I tell you, man, Krishna's just telling him, you're a miser. He says you're a thief, you know. Anyway, it's great. I like the language where it's real and where they're actually talking to you and they're not afraid to say what they think. In the spiritual world, everybody's afraid to say anything that will hurt your feelings because our egos are so damn sensitive that, you know, we can just get ourselves in a big snit if the guru just doesn't behave so nice and sweet and huggy and blissy. I love you. Come for my darshan, you know. Anyway, sorry. I told you, you know, I got a... As one of my friends said, you need a lot of work, Ram. The Karma Yoga attitude causes steadiness of mind and frees one of good and bad karma. You don't want to be just chasing, you're not chasing good karma here. You want to be free of the good karma and the bad karma. Why? You want to be free of karma altogether, huh? Isn't it? It's karma or experience that's causing us all the problems. And self-realization means I'm awareness. That is, I'm free of karma. Karma doesn't touch me. So I'm getting my mind in that attitude, in that state. I'm turning my mind into something that accurately can reflect the beauty and the glory and the freedom that I am. I've got to make my life, my mind, into what I really am. This is the action. This is the work. Oh no, you shouldn't do any of that stuff. You know, that means you're a doer. You're not a doer. So don't do any karma yoga. Don't do any sadhana. Don't do meditation. Don't be grateful. You're a fool. You're just building ego. Well, not doing all that stuff is a doing. And did you ever try not to do? This is why he says don't be attached to inaction. They knew very well about these guys like Ramesh who were telling you, you know, you're not a doer. And so all these doers ran around. I'd say to them, well, what's your sadhana? They say, oh, I'm not doing. I'm a non-doer. That's my sadhana. Well, it so happens that non-doing is a doing. Try to non-do for a while. And in fact, they're not non-doers at all. They're just acting out their vasanas and talking, I'm a non-doer. Because why? It's cool. I'm spiritual. You see, I know something really clever. I'm not a doer. Of course you're a doer. That's the whole point here. As a human being, you're a doer. You have no choice about it. Don't try to cop out with some clever spiritual stuff or drop out because you just can't handle life. Act in the right way, in the right spirit, and that'll take you right to the goal. Gonna see. The Karma Yoga attitude and frees one of good and bad karma in this world. Therefore, commit yourself to Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga is discretion in action. You have a discretion about how you act and the attitude in which you act. You have a choice here. You are not condemned to take this self-centered attitude. Most of the people misunderstand. Most of the translators got this entirely wrong. And it's been a translation in English that's gone on for 100 years, and it's caused more trouble than anything in the world, in the spiritual world. They've translated this verse as Karma Yoga is skill in action. You see, you know, Barbara knows. She's read it all. She's studied all. She knows this. She's been with the saints, and that's right, isn't it? They tell you skill in action. Well, okay, great. I'm a really efficient murderer. I'm a serial killer. I've killed 400 people and never got caught. I'm damn skillful. I'm a karma yogi, right? I'm skillful in action. That's not a karma yogi. Karma yoga is not skill in action. Karma yoga is the attitude you take with respect to action and its results. It's an attitude of what? Of offering and consecration, an attitude of gratitude on the receipt of your results, whatever they are. And the bad stuff here is as good as the good stuff. There's a lesson in all of this, and what happens to me. Bhagawan, the self or God or whatever it is, whatever you want to call it, is telling me something. So I need to get whacked upside the head once in a while. And I better see that that little whack or that little bump I get has got a little lesson in it. So I should be very thankful that everything fouled up. I should be very thankful that I made a mistake and now I learned, hey, I don't need to do this again. I was violating my dharma or violating the dharma of the world in a certain way, and that's why I got this thing, and I'm not going to make that mistake again. Thank you, Lord, for teaching me in the form of this whack. Instead of what? Trying to what? Only feel good and try to wiggle around everything so you don't get any bad karma. You just become this terrified little person every time worrying about something bad happening. Hell, stand up like a man and take it. You made a mistake, you're going to get whacked. Take your punishment, get off the mat, stand up and fight again. Huh? It's no big deal. So you got a little pain. Too bad. How are you going to grow if you're just wiggling around all the time trying to fiddle everything so it all stays pleasant and nice? You're not going to grow. You're just going to get stuck, and that's what he's saying here. So you have a discretion about the attitude. You have a choice about this attitude you take in life, and you need to monitor yourself all the time. When things start going, when you start feeling bad, it's usually your attitude. Oh no, I'm picking up bad energies from around. That's why. Bad energies from around, huh? It means you got the wrong attitude, is what it means. There's no bad energies coming into you from around. So I have a friend, she's a psychic and a little goofy. She's quite spiritual, but she had invited me for tea. So we go to this coffee shop, and I said, hi Maria, hi, how you doing? Buy a coffee. So I get her the tea. So I see a nice table by the window. I like to look out and watch people. I love people, and they're so interesting to me. So I just walk over the table. I put my cup of tea. I get to the center. Oh no! She freezes. I can't sit there. No, we're not going to sit there. I said, gee, I'm looking around. I thought maybe somebody pooped on the chair or something. And I said, well, what's the matter? She said, no, that person. See that person? Now outside there was tables and chairs on the sidewalk, and that person was putting out incredible bad energy, and that bad energy was going to come through the glass. There was a big thick window there. I don't know how that energy is leaking through the glass, but it does evidently. and that was going to pollute her. So like how a dog is when they want to pee or poop, how they go around, and they sniff everything, and they want it but they can't because the spot's not right. Well, that's how she was. We had to try about 5 chairs in 5 places till we got in the right energy field. And then, okay, now I can relax. Now I can have my tea. And I'm okay. Protected. Safe from the world. If something bad might happen to me. Anyway. With the Karma Yoga attitude, the wise, no longer concerned with the results of their action and free from bondage of rebirth, accomplish the result that is free from limitation. That is, the result that is free from limitation means self-knowledge. They realize who they are. So the basic fundamental means for self-realization is Karma Yoga. Changing your attitude. That's all. There was one other. Free from the bondage to rebirth. We're not going to bother with being reborn next time. We define rebirth as identifying with the next thought that's coming up. Getting born into, identified with the thought, having to act out the consequences of your identification with a thought or a feeling, that's being reborn. With that attitude, you won't get identified or attached to the stuff that's occurring in you. We're not saying there's anything wrong, anything right or wrong with what you're feeling. You're going to feel and think what you're going to feel. You just won't identify or attach to it. And that's what we want. So the mind stays steady. It doesn't like always riding on the emotions and thoughts and feelings that are appearing from the unconscious, from a causal state that are appearing in the subtle body. You don't want that. So this is the attitude. And you got to monitor your life. And you micromanage your attitude. Micromanage. Watch it. As soon as it starts to get out of tune, get back in tune. This is just a subtle adjustment you're making inside yourself.
At the level of subtle body.
At the level of the subtle body, absolutely. If you manage at the level of the subtle body, if you manage your attitude, your karma just cleans really quick. You don't have to deal with the results of your karma. Why? Because you're neutralizing your karma when it comes into the subtle body. So you stay steady and what? As soon as you cross that attitude, you go back to the self. You immediately see the self or identify with the self or see things from the self. And then the karma doesn't stick. It just works out. It doesn't work back in. So it's a very, very fast and powerful method or tool for what? Cleaning your mind and self-realization. That's what he says here. The result that is free of limitation. That result is what? Is you. You're the only one that's free of limitation. He's playing on words here. Nice. When your intellect is no longer deluded, deluded means you can't discriminate what's real from what's unreal, what's apparently real from what's real. It says when your intellect is no longer deluded, you will become dispassionate concerning what has happened and what will happen. In other words, you're not worrying about the past. Oh, all the mistakes I made. If only I had done this, it would be better now. Or, oh my God, well, if I just do this, then maybe things will change and I'll get Mr. Right or I'll get the job or whatever it is. You won't be worried about that stuff. When your mind is no longer concerned with the results promised in the Vedas, it means it remains steady and becomes established in the self. The mind turns toward the self. This is what happens because Karma Yoga exhausts the vasanas. The vasanas are forcing the mind outward. They're extroverting the mind. They're pushing it outside. You see how people are always looking around in the world, wondering where's this, what they're doing, what's going on. The mind is all outside. It's just constantly extroverted. And now what happens, when you practice this attitude, the mind turns around. The mind is looking for the mind is always seeking happiness. It's always seeking pleasure. And when you got this attitude and you know that there's no lasting, in other words, you have discrimination, you know there's no lasting happiness to be attained in objects, then what? The mind slowly turns around and goes for, because the real happiness is what? Coming from me. Huh? The joy is not in the object, the joy is in me. So, and the mind unconsciously knows that, and when you practice this attitude, it turns around and starts to suck on the bliss or the joy that's coming out of me. I get it directly without having to worry about getting it indirectly through actions and experiences. This is what happens when you practice this yoga. And then once your mind is turned inward and locked on the self or on awareness, now you can't be actually locked on awareness, but it can be locked on the reflection of the awareness in a pure mind. Obviously, we said yesterday, you can't see the self or know the self directly, but you can what? See the self reflected in a pure mind. And by consistently holding the mind steady on that reflection of awareness, the knowledge that I am the self will arise in the mind. Because knowledge is true to the object. And a clear mirror gives a clear picture of reality. A dirty mirror, you're not going to be able to tell what the self is. Huh? A broken, cracked mirror, that's Rajas. It's going to be all fractured. All the images are going to be fractured, which is how life appears when your mind is Rajasic. And your mind and life seems to be very dull, and you seem to be very dull when your mind is tamasic. But when your mind is sattvic and clear, the awareness shines brightly in it. And then what? Because it's beautiful, it's a beautiful light. This is the spiritual phase. This is when you turn inward and you really don't care about the world. And you're sitting all the time in meditation. Because you're what? You're not sitting in, it's not a discipline to sit in meditation. You're just sucking up the light. You're enjoying the light, the feeling of peace and the feeling of wholeness and the completeness and the power and all the really great feelings that come when your mind is like meditating on the light of awareness shining and the light of truth shining in your mind. That's so wonderful. It's not a discipline. It's like making love. You don't have, oh, let's see now, I got to really concentrate here. I'm making love to my wife, and I've got to really, really concentrate hard. Well, maybe you do if if your wife is not okay, but basically when you're making love, well, if you don't think it is, then you have to work very hard at it. If you're having problems with your wife, but basically when you want to make love to somebody, you don't have to concentrate, do you? There's no concentration involved. It feels good, it's great, it's fun, and your mind concentrates automatically when when there's a pleasure in front of you. You don't have to discipline yourself to concentrate on pleasure. The mind automatically concentrates, and so the mind automatically locks on the self. This is why Ramana went and sat in a cave. Oh, what's that guy doing in there? It must be pretty boring. He got no TV. It's a rocks are there. How's he going to manage? Well, hell, it was beautiful. What he was seeing inside, it was so beautiful. At one point, he forgot about his body altogether, and it was getting infected. All these insects were eating him. And he was getting infected. He would have probably died. But there was this great sage there named Sheshadri Swamigal. He was the big guru there when Ramana came. They called Ramana Little Sheshadri. The locals called him Little Sheshadri. And Sheshadri said, oh, that guy, yeah, he's in Samadhi. You better get him out of there, clean him up, take care of him, put him in a cave somewhere, and look after him because, he's gone. And, well, gone means what? He's enjoying himself inside. He's reveling in the light. Atma Ram. My name's Ram. Atma Ram means the one who revels in the light, who revels in the Atman, who revels in the heart. Heart means the self, the essence. There's so much pleasure there. And and after you got over the pleasure bit, then you get your intellect comes back and you start thinking about it. Hey, just a minute, what is this light I'm looking at? What the hell is that? Inquiry. Right? You hold your mind, you lock it steady. When I got with my guru, it just locked on. It was easy there. I had it made. I had a 10 times easier sadhana than Raman and most of these people. Because I just fell in with this great Mahatma. So all you do is tune into the Mahatma and suddenly, boom, your mind is there. And you just stay in the energy field. And it just happens. And you're just enjoying all the time, blissful all the time. One time I told Swamiji something. He said, hey, you think that's your glory? That's my glory. You're taking that all from me. You better figure out how to do it on your own. He was a hard ass. He was funny, You think that's your glory. You think you're pretty great because you're in meditation all the time? He says, you're just sucking off my energy. And it was. His mind was so powerful that if you locked onto his mind, boom, your mind went into the self. It just was locked there. You couldn't even think. If you got too close to that kind of a yogi, you walked up and you had a question, you get within like 10, 15 feet, and you'd start to forget what you wanted to know, and you get about 5 feet away, and you're just like this. And so he'd look at me, you know, and he'd say, you know, what do you want? And he was like that, you know. He was not a warm, fuzzy type of guy, honestly. He did not suffer fools gladly. So, you know, and I'd be like, I'd have to back up, you know, 10 steps till the thought came back so I could ask him a question. No, I'm just dramatizing. But that's yoga. The mind locked on the self. And the way to gain that is through karma yoga. It's a fabulous, fabulous situation. And then inquiry develops, and then knowledge arises, because knowledge is true to the object of knowledge. We said that. You know, you don't see a dog here. You see glasses. That's because the knowledge of this object is true to the object. So you get glasses knowledge, not dog knowledge. So when you see the self, the knowledge of the self, what is true to the self. You're not going to get any other knowledge than self-knowledge when your mind is there. And if you have discrimination and you know what you're looking for and you've had some teaching, you know, it's very easy to understand who you are and to appreciate and to experience who you are. So, karma yoga is the key. It's absolutely the key. Can't say that too much. So you become the mind remains steady and becomes established in the self. Now, we want to not be established in the self, we want to be established in the self as the self. The next step is identifying with the self. Okay, and then what else? Where are we at here? This leads to self-knowledge. Uh-oh. Oh no, it's on the back, right? Yeah, sorry. Good. That's a nice thing about Kinkos, huh? They pin on both sides, Dave. Okay. So throughout the Gita, they give, you know, a lot of people realize the self actually. And it's really not that big a deal. They make a big story about it, particularly the gurus. They want you to think they're special. Huh? Watch these gurus. They're useless, let me tell you. They want you to think it's really hard and they're really special. But a lot, you know, we got our own checkpoints here. You check yourself up and you check the gurus up. As far as this enlightenment thing. So throughout the Gita and throughout all the Vedanta texts, there's tons, every text has got it. I can't think of one basically that doesn't. Maybe there's a few. That talks about what an enlightened person is. Now obviously there's no enlightened persons from what? The self's point of view. This is what Neo would want to say. There's no enlightened persons, except me. You know. No. Why are there no enlightened persons? Because there's, in a non-dual reality, there's only the self. So I'm not a person, am I? So I can't even say I'm enlightened. If you say you're enlightened, of course, you know, you don't know that what? This is a non-dual reality and you're the self. Saying you're, or awakened. You can't say you're, they want you to think that awakening is the self, is some big accomplishment. Well look, the self never went to sleep. So how the hell is it going to wake up? Did the self go to sleep? The self didn't go to sleep. So what? The ego, the person that I think I was, discovered something that it didn't know before. But that's still, you're still an ego now with knowing you're the self. You're not the self. So you won't be saying you're an enlightened person. But, having said that, right, in this apparent reality, when this knowledge is firm, this is what you'll look like as a person. We're not saying to throw away the person, we're just saying that it's not you, it's not fundamentally you, it's an aspect of you, it's an expression of you, it's an apparent appearance of you, awareness, in time and space. And that apparent appearance of you will look like this. Now this is a checkpoint. This is a checklist. You apply that to the gurus that you meet, 99% of them will fail. Honestly. This is hard out. This is hardcore. You can't get away. You can't fiddle it. You can't fiddle the Enlightenment definition. Vedanta is really strict about this. Arjuna said, "Oh Krishna, will you please describe?" See, he's talking to Arjuna. He's talking to a person. Arjuna doesn't know. He said if he knew, we wouldn't had to be taught karma yoga. He doesn't know. So Krishna's educating him. "Oh Krishna, will you please describe a person of steady wisdom, whose mind is not disturbed by anything and who abides in the self? How do such people interact with the world? How do they behave?" He's a dharmi, he's a kshatriya. He wants to know how people act. It's important. And we want to know how people act. How people act determines who they are. Screw enlightenment. Everybody's enlightenment. How a person behaves is what you judge people by. You don't let them fiddle away. All this bullshit spiritual talk. Just watch their actions. How do they behave? Are they stand-up people? Are they honest? Are they kind and loving? Do they actually act that way, or do they just talk that way? Be a fly on the wall. Be a fly on your own wall and look at your own mind and see how you're behaving. Be honest about your behavior. So he says, how are they behaved? Krishna replied, when a person gives up desires, when a person gives up desires as they appear in the mind and remains happy with only his or herself, he or she is a discriminating person. Why can that person give up the desires or fears that are coming up in their mind? Because they know they're whole and complete, and that the satisfaction of a desire or a fear is not going to change them one iota. So what? So they what? They can do that. It doesn't say they have to do that. They say they can do it. It means their vasanas are what? Non-binding. It doesn't mean you don't have vasanas. Mind you, this whole purity thing, the nirvana thing, you're only going to get enlightened when every last little vasana is gone. No, wrong. Why? Because the self, you are there prior to all vasanas. Vasanas aren't on the same level of reality as the self. The self is prior to the vasanas. So the vasanas don't cancel you. See, the notion is that what? The self and the vasanas, God and the devil are in conflict. There's no conflict between God and the devil. The devil's a lower principle. It's not like Satan is pulling you on one side and God is pulling you on the other, and who's going to win? It's not like that. You're there before any vasana. So the vasanas can come out, but what? You're not required. You know very well you can act them out, or you can not act them out, or you can do something else altogether. You can turn around and ignore them altogether. It's up to you. Your freedom, that's what freedom means. You're free not to do, not to involve yourself in anything. It's optional, is another word. The idea is, you get enlightened, that's supposed to kill all the vasanas. They're not killed in fact, they're killed by knowledge. Knowledge neutralizes the vasanas. The vasanas themselves no longer have power once they're neutralized by self-knowledge. They only have power because of your ignorance. It's your ignorance that causes you to identify with an incomplete idea of incompleteness. And what do? Then you act out those vasanas. Because you're ignorant. And when you know who you are, your ignorance is gone. So what? The vasanas have no power. They just appear like what? A burnt rope. In the scripture, that's how the vasanas are described in a jnani, in a person who knows. They look like a rope, but when you try to tie anything down with that rope, it just dissolves into ashes. So, desires are optional. The one who is unaffected by adversity. Bad stuff happens, that person says, well, c'est la vie. C'est la vie. Tough. The way it goes. Unaffected by adversity, who doesn't yearn for pleasure. Oh, she's so beautiful. If she'd only look at me and we could be together. That would be so nice. We could snuggle, we could spoon. You know, yearning for pleasure, yearning for love, yearning for good feelings. The person's not yearning. Good feelings come, thank you very much. It's prasad. Thank you. I take the good feelings. That's very nice. And when the good feelings go, which they always do, right? I take the bad feelings as prasad. Oh, that's interesting. First good feelings, now bad feelings. Has nothing to do with me at all. So the feelings and stuff come up. They're just like clouds. They just form in the sky and they dissolve. You can see it over the mountain. Now, just suddenly out of the blue, a cloud will form up, and then 20 minutes later, it'll go back, and the sky remains clear. So like that, that's how your feelings and thoughts are to the self, to an enlightened person. Yeah, they will come out, they'll express. Sometimes a dark cloud comes out, and it blows up, and the sky remains clear. You never are contaminated by your actions, see. And he doesn't rejoice when the circumstances are pleasant. Oh, wow, I'm so cool. Everything's going my way. Yeah, I'm the Ramji, People are phoning me up, they're sending me money. I'm a pretty sharp guy, all right. I finally got it dialed here, baby. No, it's not you. Anything that comes doesn't come from you. Whatever comes from Bhagawan. Why are you getting high off it? It's all Bhagawan's glory. It's not your glory. It's not a state, because good things are happening. I'm a really good person. That's why good things are happening to me. I'm a really miserable person. That's why bad things are happening to me. No. And if a person is able, very good. If a person is able to withdraw his or her sense organs from the sense objects, like a turtle withdraws its limbs, his or her knowledge is steady. That means if you're hooked up to some object, a thought or a feeling or a sensual pleasure, you can take yourself out of that situation, at will. That doesn't, see, we're not saying you're not meant to enjoy. If when things get dangerous, you can You can pull out. Not a problem. You're the master of your mind. That's why Ganesh, he's sitting on the rat. You remember we talked, you all weren't here for this rat story. But the elephant god Ganesh is sitting on a rat, means his desires. He's riding on the desires. The desires aren't riding on him, which is a case of a samsari. We're all little teeny people, right, and there's big rats on our shoulders, and we're carrying our desires all around and it's telling us what to do. Okay, well, then we'll have a little break and we'll take up the next verse. Good verse. There's psychology here now. How this works. This desire business. 63, 62, 63. We'll start there.
Can we start earlier in the afternoon session so we don't get in the same situation we had last night where people they haven't eaten dinner yet?
Well, that's a thought.
That's a good thought.
That's a good, and plus it's cooler today.
Like 3:30 instead of 4:30?
Yeah, sure, we could do that if you like. If people get hungry, I forgot about people getting hungry.
Well, the thing I noticed yesterday, and I don't know if it's gonna be any cooler today or not, was that the heat of the afternoon was still very much present. And that really kind of dulls you.
It dulls you.
It really does.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's right.
So,
That's why I was trying to keep it
the other
later. but-
suggestion for me, that I might suggest, is that let's have people have dinner at 5.
You come
And then
back.
go from 6 to 8 o'clock, because there's still plenty of daylight.
Yeah, we could do that too.
So, that's just another way to think about it.
We could do that.
So,
But then we're not having, we're really not doing anything between 12 and 5. That's a long time.
But you're not a doer, are you?
Whatever, but just put it out there.
mm-hmm.
But I think that there was a problem, and it needs
No,
to be
it
dealt
is.
with
It's dullness.
some kind of way.
That time of the afternoon is not a great time.
Mm-hmm. Still hot. Still.
Well, no, it's
No, it was a
even if it isn't hot, people are tired.
It
They've
was-
been up all day long. They're working, you know, and I mean, it's 3 or 4 in the afternoon. In civilized countries, everybody naps.
Mm.
There's a siesta, huh? In civilized countries, they're not so neurotic. They have to keep going from morning till night.
It's either way. I think there was a problem for some folks that, they were really hungry at about 5:36ish, and, maybe we could take an extended break.
If you're hungry and you don't want to be
Well, that's an idea. We do an hour about, say,
Say about 4 to 5 an hour,
yeah,
and then an
then
extended break, and then come back for another hour or more.
Or
hour and a
two.
half.
after dinner, yeah, we could do that.
Hmm?
There's
I,
an
that
idea.
just, whatever you want. No, I just thought we need to make a
Okay.
change from yesterday.
Yeah.
I think that's a reasonable.
We have dinner at 5 here? Is this normal? Like having dinner at 5?
Most people in America have dinner at 6.
When we start at 4, we could just stop at 6.
Yeah, I
The
could.
problem is when we
Yeah.
run out of time, so what if we...
Yeah, I was on a bit roll, and we were all, so I didn't pay attention. I didn't feel anything. I didn't feel hungry or tired or sleepy or anything. I just.
No, I didn't feel hungry with them either, but,
I think it'd be wonderful to start again after dinner and then just have it go as long as we want,
that would be wonderful.
That would be wonderful.
Well, we.